Namo Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paribrajakacarya Ashtatara Sata Sri Srimati His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. Hare Krishna dear devotees, I hope all you are doing well. Today we'll be reading from Nectar of Devotion, Chapter 1, Characteristics of Pure Devotional Service. So if you have not listened our previous classes, please check out our playlist. So before we start, we will pray first. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः नारायणं नमस्कृतं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततं जयमुदीरये जय श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानन्द श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौरभक्तवृन्द हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे नमो ओं विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी नित्य नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी प्रश्चात देश तारिणे जय श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय. So let's begin. Please listen very carefully. Chapter 1, Characteristics of Pure Devotional Service. In Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd canto, 29th chapter, verse 12 and 13, Srila Kapil Deva, while instructing his mother, has given the following characteristics of pure devotional service. My dear mother, those who those who are my pure devotee, who have no desire for material benefit and philosophical speculation, have their minds such engaged in my service that they are never interested in asking me for anything except to be engaged in the service. They do not even beg to live in my abode with me. There are five kinds of liberation, namely to become one with the Lord, uh, to live with the Supreme Lord in the same planet, to have the same feature as the Lord, to enjoy the same opulence as the Lord, and to live as the companion as the devotee. A devotee what to speak of rejecting material sense gratification does not even want any five kind of liberation. He is satisfied simply by discharging devotional. He is simply by discharging loving service to the Lord. That is the characteristics of pure devotion. In the above statement by Kapil Deva from Kapil Deva from Srimad Bhagavatam, the actual position of the pure devotee is described. The primary characteristics of devotional service are also defined. Further characteristics of devotional service are described by Rupa Goswami with evidence from different scripture. He states that six characteristics of pure devotional service. He states that there are six characteristics of pure devotional service, which are as follows. Number one, pure devotional service bring immediate relief from all kind of material distress. Pure devotional service is the beginning of all auspiciousness. Third, pure devotional service automatically put on in transcendental pleasure. Four, pure devotional service is rarely achieved. Those who are pure service uh, deride even the conception of liberation. Pure devotional service is the only mean to attract Krishna. The Krishna is all attractive, but pure devotional service attract him even. This means the pure devotional service is even transcendently stronger than Krishna himself because it is the Krishna's internal potency. Relief from material distress. In Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says one should surrender unto him, giving up all other engagement. The Lord also gives his word where that he will protect surrendered soul from the reaction of the sinful activity. Srila Rupa Goswami says that distress from the sinful activity are due both to sin are due both to the sins themselves and to sin committed in the past life. Generally, one commits sinful activity due to ignorance, but ignorance is no excuse for evidence the reaction and the sinful activity. Sinful activities are two kind. Those who, sinful activities are of two kinds. Those that are mature and those that are not mature. The sinful activity for which we are suffering at the present moment are called mature. The many sinful activity store within us for which we have not yet suffered are considered immature. For example, a man have committed criminal act but not have been arrested for them. Now, as soon as he is detected, arrest is awaiting him. Similarly, for some of our sinful activity, we are awaiting distress in the kind of future, and for other kind of which are kind of mature, we are suffering at the present moment. In this way, there is a kind of chain of sinful activity, and their concomitant concomitant distress, and the conditioned soul is suffering life after life due to this sin. He is suffering in the present life, thus result of sinful activity from the kind of past life. He is meanwhile creating further suffering for kind of his future life. Mature sinful activity are exhibited if one is suffering from some chronic disease, if one is suffering from some legal implication, if one is born in a low and degraded family, or if one is uneducated or very ugly. There are many results of past sinful activity for which we are suffering at the present moment, and we may be suffering in the future due to our present sinful activity. But all of this reaction of sinful deed can immediately be stopped if we take Krishna consciousness. As evidence for this, Rupa Goswami quote from Srimad Bhagavatam 11th Canto 14th chapter verses 19. This verse is a connection with Lord Krishna's instruction to Uddhava, where he says, "My dear Uddhava, devotional service unto me is just like a blazing fire, which can burn into ashes unlimited fuel supplied to it." The purport is that as the blazing fire can burn any amount of fuel to ashes, so devotional service to the Lord in Krishna consciousness can burn all the kind of fuel of sinful activity. For example, in the Gita, Arjuna thought that fighting was a sinful activity, but Krishna engaged him in the battlefield under his order, and so the fighting become devotional service. Therefore Arjuna was not subjected to any sinful reaction. Srila Rupa Goswami quote another verse from the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, 30 33rd chapter, verses 6, in which Devahuti addressed her son Kapil Deva and say, "My dear Lord, there are nine different kind of devotional service, beginning with the hearing, chanting. Anyone who hear about your pastimes, who chant about your glory, who offer your obeisances, who think of you in this way, execute any of the nine kind of devotional service, even if he is born in the family of the dog eater, the lowest grade of mankind, because become immediately qualified to personal perform sacrifice, such as how is it possible to anyone actually engaged in devotional service in full of Krishna consciousness has not become purified? It is not possible. One who is engaged in Krishna consciousness and devotional service has without doubt become free from all contamination of material sinful activity. Devotional service therefore has the power to actually nullify all kind of reaction to sinful deed. A devotee is nevertheless always alert not to commit any sinful activity. This is a specific qualification as a devotee. Thus, Srimad Bhagavatam state that by performing devotional service, a person who was born even in the kind of family of the dog eater may become eligible to take part in the performance of the ritualistic ceremony recommended in Vedas. It is implicit in the statement that a person born in the family of the dog eater is generally not fit for performing yajna or sacrifice. The priestly caste in charge of performing this ritualistic ceremony recommended in the Veda is called Brahmana order. Unless one is a Brahmana, he cannot perform this ceremony. A person is born in the Brahmana family or in the family of the dog eater due to his past activity. If a person is born in the family of the dog eater, it means that its past activity were all sinful. But if even a person take a path of the devotional service and begin to chant the holy name of the Lord, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, he is at fit to perform the ritualistic ceremony. This means that the sinful reaction have immediately become neutralized. It is stated that the Padma Purana that there are four kind of effect due to sinful activity, which are listed as follows: the effect that is not yet fructified, the effect that is lying as a seed, the effect that is already mature, the effect that is already is almost mature. It is also stated that these all four effects become immediately vanquished for those who surrender unto the Supreme Personality Godhead Vishnu and came engaged in his devotional service in full Krishna consciousness. These effects described as almost mature. Those effects described as almost mature refer to distress from which one is suffering at present, and the effect lying as a seed are in the core of the heart, where there is a certain stock of the sinful desire which are like a seed. The Sanskrit word kutam means that they are almost ready to produce the seed or the effect of the seed. An immature effect case where the seeding has not begun. For this statement, Padma Purana, it is understood that material contamination is very subtle. Its beginning, its fruition and result. How one suffer such result in the form of distress are part of the great chain. When one catches some disease, it is often very difficult to ascertain the cause of the disease, where it is originated and how it is maturing. The suffering of the disease, however, does not appear all of a sudden. It is actually take time, and as in the medical field, for for precaution sake, the doctor inject a vaccination to prevent the growing of contamination. Practical injunction to stop all the fructification of the seed of our sinful activity is simply engagement in Krishna consciousness. In this connection, Shukdev Goswami speak in the sixth canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, second chapter, verses 17, about the story of the Ajamila, who began life as a fine and dutiful Brahmana, but who is a young manhood become wholly corrupted by a prostitute. As the end of his wicked life, just by calling the name Narayana Krishna, he was saved despite so much sin. Sukdev pointed out that austerity, chastity, charity, and the performance of ritualistic ceremony for encountering sinful activity are recommended process, but that by performing them one cannot remove the sinful desire seed from the heart, as one in the case was with Ajamila in his youth. This sinful desire seed can be removed by only achieving Krishna consciousness, and this can be accomplished very easily by chanting the Mahamantra, Hare Krishna mantra, as recommended by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In other words, unless one adopts the path of devotional service, he cannot be 100% clean from all reaction of sinful activity. By performing Vedic ritualistic activity, by giving money in charity, by undergoing austerity, one can temporarily become free from the reaction of sinful activity. But at the next moment, he must again become engaged in sinful activity. For example, a person suffering from the venereal disease on account of excessive indulgence in the sex life has to undergo some severe pain in the medical treatment, and he is then cured for the time being. But because he has not been able to remove the sex desire from his heart, he must again indulge in the same thing, become a victim of the same disease. So medical treatment may give temporary relief from the distress of the such venereal disease, but unless one is trained to understand that sex life is abnormal, it is impossible to save from the such repeated distress. Similarly, the ritualistic performance, the clarity and the austerity that are recommended in the Veda may temporarily stop one from acting in sinful way, but as long as the heart is not clear, one will have to repeat sinful activity again and again. Another example given in Srimad Bhagavatam concerned the elephant who enter into lake and take a bath very seriously, cleansing his body truly. As soon as he come into the shore, and he again take some dust from the earth and throw it over in body. Similarly, a person who is not trained in Krishna consciousness cannot become completely free from the desire of sinful activity. Neither the yoga process, nor philosophical speculative, nor fruitive activity can save one from the seed of sinful desire. Only by being engaged in devotional service can this be done. There are another evidence in the fourth canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, 22nd chapter, verse 39, wherein the Sanat Kumar says, "My dear king, the false ego of human being is so strong that it gives him the material existence as if deeper by the strong rope. Only the devotee can cut off that knot of the strong rope is very easily by engaging themselves in uh, Krishna consciousness. Other who are not in Krishna consciousness but who are trying to become the great mystic or the great ritual performer cannot advance like the devotee. Therefore, it is the duty of everyone to engage himself in activity of Krishna consciousness in order to become free from that night tried knot of false ego and engagement in material activity. The tight knot of false ego is due to ignorance. As long as the ignorance about his identity, so he is sure to act wrongly, therefore become the entangled in material contamination. This ignorance of the factual knowledge can also be dissipated by Krishna consciousness as it is confirmed in the Padma Purana as follows. Pure devotional service in Krishna consciousness is the highest enlightenment. And when such enlightenment is there, it is just like a blazing forest fire, killing all the inauspicious snake of desire. The example is being given in the connection when there is a forest fire, the extensive blazing automatically kill all snake in the forest. There are many snake on the ground in the forest where the kind of fire take place. It burn and dried foil and the kind of snake are immediately attacked. Animal who have a kind of four leg can flee from the fire or can stay try to flee, but the snake are immediately killed. Similarly, the blazing fire of Krishna consciousness is so strong that the snake of ignorance are immediately killed. Krishna consciousness is all auspicious. Srila Rupa Goswami has given the definition of auspiciousness. He says that actual auspiciousness means welfare of activity for all the people of the world. At the present moment, group of the people are engaged in welfare activity in terms of society, community, or nation. There is even an attempt in the form of United Nation for World Health Activity, but due to the shortcoming of limited national activities such as General Mass of Welfare Program for the world whole world is not practically possible. The Krishna consciousness movement, however, is so nice that it can render the highest benefit to the entire human race. Everyone can be attracted by his movement. Everyone can feel the result. Therefore, Rupa Goswami, other learned scholar, agreed that the board propaganda program for the Krishna consciousness movement for devotional service all over the world is the highest humanitarian welfare activity. How Krishna consciousness movement can attract the attention of the whole world and how each and every man can feel the pleasure of the Krishna consciousness is stated in Padma Purana as follows. A person who is engaged in devotional service is the full Krishna consciousness is to be understood to be doing the best service of the whole world and to be kind of pleasing everyone in the world. In addition to human society, he is pleasing even the tree and animal because they are becoming attracted by such movement. Practical example of this was shown by Lord Chaitanya when he was traveling through the forest of Jharkhand in central India for spreading his Sankirtan movement. The tigers, elephants, deers, and all other wild animal joined him were participating in their own way by dancing and chanting Hare Krishna. Furthermore, a person engaged in Krishna consciousness acting in devotional service can develop all the good quality they are generally found in the demigod. Found in demigod. It is said by Sukdev Goswami in the fifth canto Srimad Bhagavatam 18 chapter verse 12, my dear king, person who have unflinching faith in Krishna or without any duplicity can develop the good quality of the demigod. On account of the devotee highest grade of Krishna consciousness, even if the demigod like to live with him, and therefore it can be understood that the quality of the demigod have developed within the body. On the other hand, a person who is not Krishna consciousness has no good quality. He may be highly educated from the academic point of view, but in the actual field of activity, he can be seen to be busier than the animal. Even though a person is highly educated academically, if he cannot go beyond the sphere of the mental activity, then he is sure to perform only material activity, thus remain impure. There are so many persons in the modern world who have been highly educated in the materialistic university, but it is seen that they cannot take up the movement of Krishna consciousness and develop the high quality of the demigod. For example, Krishna consciousness boy, even if he is not very well educated by university standard can immediately give up all illicit sex life, gambling, meat eating, and intoxication, whereas those who are not Krishna consciousness, all the very highly educated, are often drunkard, meat eater, sex monger, and the gambler. These are the practical proof of how Krishna consciousness person become highly developed in the good quality. Where a person who is not in Krishna consciousness cannot do so. We experience that even a young boy in Krishna consciousness is unattached to cinemas, nightclubs, and naked dance shows, restaurants, liquor shop, etc. He become completely free. He save his vulnerable time from the being extravagantly spent in the way smoking, drinking, attending the theater, and dancing. One who is not in Krishna consciousness usually cannot sit silently even for half an hour. The yoga system teaches that if you gonna become silent, you will realize that you are God. The yoga system teaches that if you become silent, you will realize that you are God. This system may be all right for materialistic person, but how long will they able to keep themselves silent? Artificially, they may sit down for so-called meditation, but immediately after their yogic performance, they will engage themselves again in the activity as illicit says, gambling, meat eating, and many other nonsensical things. But a Krishna consciousness person gradually elevate himself without endeavoring for so-called silent meditation, simply because he is engaged in Krishna consciousness. He automatically give up all this nonsense and develop a higher character. One develop the highest character by becoming a pure devotee of Krishna. The conclusion is that no one can truly have any good quality if he is lacking Krishna consciousness. Happiness is Krishna consciousness. Srila Rupa Goswami has analyzed the different source of happiness. He is divided happiness in the three categories, whereas happiness derived from the material enjoyment, number two, happiness deriving the identification one with the supreme Brahman, and number three, happiness deriving from Krishna consciousness. In the Tantra Shastra, Lord Shiva speaks to his wife Sati in this way, my dear wife, a person who has surrendered himself at the lotus feet of Govinda, who has thus developed pure Krishna consciousness, can be very easily awarded all the perfection desired by the impersonalist. And beyond this, he can enjoy the happiness achieved by the pure devotee. Happiness derived from the pure devotional service is the highest because it is eternal. The happiness derived from the material perfection or understanding the oneself to be Brahman is inferior because it is temporary. There is no preventing one is falling down from the material happiness. And there is even every kind of chance of falling down from the spiritual happiness derived by identifying oneself with the impersonal Brahman. It has been seen the great Mayavadi impersonalist sannyasi, very highly educated, almost realized soul, may gonna sometimes take up the political activity or the social welfare activity. The reason is that they actually do not derive any ultimate transcendental happiness in the impersonal understanding, therefore, must come down to the material platform and take such the mundane affair. There are many instances, especially in India, where this Mayavadi sannyasi descended to the material platform again, but a person who is fully Krishna consciousness will never return to any sort of the material platform. However, alluring the attracting they may be, he always knows that no material welfare activity can compare to the spiritual activity of Krishna consciousness. The mystic performance achieved by actual successful yogi are eight in number. A mystic perfection achieved by actual successful yogi are 18 number. Ahima Siddhi refers to the power by which one can become so small that he can enter into a stone. Modern scientists' improvement also enables us to enter into the stone because they provide the excavating for so many Ganasavi and the penetrating the heel, etc. So Anima Siddhi by mystic perfection of trying to enter into Kunastone has also can be achieved by the material science. Similarly, all of the yoga siddhi or the perfection are material art. For example, in one yoga siddhi, there are the development of the power to become so light that one can float in the air or in water. There that is also being performed by the modern scientists. They are kind of flying in the air. They are floating on the surface of the kind of water. They are traveling under the kind of water. After comparing all this mystic yoga siddhi in the materialistic perfection, we find that the materialistic scientists try for some perfection. We find that the materialistic scientists try for the same perfection. So actually, there is no difference between the mystic perfection and the materialistic perfection. A German scholar once said that so-called yogi perfection had already been achieved by the modern scientist. So he was not concerned with them. He is intelligently went to India to learn how he could understand his eternal relationship with the Supreme Lord by means of bhakti yoga or devotional service. Of course, in the category mystic performance, there are certain processes that material scientists have not yet been able to develop. For instance, a mystic yogi can enter into the sun planet simply by using the ray of sunshine. Simply by using the ray of sunshine. This perfection is called laghima. Similarly, yogi can touch the moon with the finger. Through the modern astronomer go to the moon with the help of the spaceship. They undergo many difficulty. Whereas a person with a mystic perfection can extend his hand and touch the moon with the finger. This siddhi is called prapti or acquisition. With this Prapti Siddhi, not only can the perfect mystic yogi touch the moon planet, but he can extend his hand anywhere and take whatever he like. He may be sitting thousands. The modern scientists have manufactured nuclear weapon with which they can destroy an insignificant part of this planet. But by the Yog Siddhi, known as Ishita, one can create and destroy the entire planet simply at will. Another perfection is called Vashita. By his perfection, one can bring anyone under his control. There is a kind of the hypnotism that is almost irresistible. Sometimes it is found that yogi who may have attained the little perfection in this Basita mystic power come under among the people and speak all sort of nonsense, control their mind, exploiting them, and take their money and goes away. There are another mystic perfection which known as prakamya or magic. By his the prakamya power, one can achieve anything he likes. For example, he can make water enter into his eye and then again come out from within the eye. Simply by his will, he can perform such wonderful activity. The highest perfection of the mystic power is called kama vasaita. It is also magic. When the prakamya power act to create wonderful effect within the scope of nature, Kamabasaita permit one to contradict nature, in other words, to do the impossible. Of course, one can derive the great amount of temporary happiness by achieving such yogic materialistic perfection. Foolishly, people who are enamored of the glimmer of modern materialistic advancement are thinking that the Krishna consciousness movement is for less intelligent men. I am better off being busy with the material comfort, maintaining the nice apartment, family, and sex life. These people do not know that any amount, any do not know that at any moment that can be kicked out by their material situation. Due to ignorance, they do not know the real life of eternal. Due to ignorance, they do not know that real life is eternal. The temporary comfort of the body are not the goal of life, and it is due only the darkest side that people become enamored or that the glimmering advancement of material comfort. Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur has therefore said that the advancement of material knowledge rendered to a person more foolish because it causes one to forget his real identity by its the glimmer. This is
doomed for him because this human on a form of life is meant for getting out the material contamination. By the advancement of the material knowledge, people are becoming more and more entangled in the materialistic material existence. They have no hope of being liberated from this catastrophe. In Hari Bhakti Sudhadaya, it is stated that Prahlad Maharaj, the great devotee of the Lord, prayed to Nrsimhadeva and the half lion, half man incarnation as follows: My dear Lord, I repeatedly can pray unto your lotus feet that I may simply be stronger in devotional service. I may pray that the Lord Krishna, I may can pray that my Krishna consciousness may be more strong and steady because happiness derived out of Krishna consciousness and devotional service is so powerful that with it one can have all other perfection, religious, economic development, sense gratification, even attainment and liberation from the material existence. Actually, the pure devotee does not aspire after many of these perfection because the happiness derived from the devotional service in Krishna consciousness is so transcendental and so unlimited that no other happiness can compare it. It is gonna said that even a drop of happiness in Krishna consciousness stand beyond comparison with and the ocean of happiness derived from any other activity. Thus any person who is developed even a little quantity of pure devotional service can easily can kicked out all other kind of happiness derived from religiousness, economic development, sense gratification, and liberation. There were the great devotee of Lord Chaitanya known as Kalavacha Siddhara, who were very poor man. He was doing small business selling cup made from the leaf of the planet Palentian, Plantain tree. And his income was almost nothing. Still, he was spending the 50% of the small income of the worship of the Ganga, and with the 50% was somehow living. The Lord Chaitanya once revealed himself to the confidential devotee Karavaja Siddhar and offered him any opulence he liked. But Siddhar informed the Lord that he did not want any material opulences. He was quite happy in his present position and wanted only to gain unflinching faith and devotion unto the lotus feet of Lord Chaitanya. This is the position of the pure devotee. If they can be engaged 24 hours each day in devotional service, they do not want anything else, not even the happiness of liberation or being one with the Supreme. The Pancharathra, it is also going to say that any person who is developed even the small amount of devotional service does not care a fig from any kind of happiness derived from the religiousness, economic development, and gratification, or the five kind of liberation. Any kind of happiness derived from religious, economic development, liberation, and sense gratification cannot even dare to enter into the heart of pure devotee. It is stated that the as the it is stated that as the personal attendant and the maidservant of the queen follow the queen with all respect and obedience, respect and obeisance. Similarly, the joy of religiousness, economic development, sense gratification, and liberation follow the devotional service of the Lord. In other words, the pure devotee does not lack any kind of happiness derived from any sources. He does not want anything but the service to Krishna. But even if he should have another desire, the Lord fulfill this without the devotees asking. The rareness of pure devotional service. The preliminary phase of spiritual kind of life, there are different kind of austerity opinions and similar process for attaining the self realization. However, even if an executor of the process is without any material desire, he still cannot achieve the devotional kind of service, and aspiring by kind of one alone to can achieve devotional service, it is also not very hopeful because Krishna does not agree to award devotional service to merely anyone. Krishna can easily offer a person material happiness or even liberation, but he does not agree can very easily to award a person engagement in his devotional service. Devotional service can in devotional service can in fact be attended only through the mercy of pure devotee. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila 1951, it is said, by the mercy of the spiritual master who is pure devotee, and by the mercy of the Krishna, one can achieve the platform of devotional service. There is no other way. The rarity of the devotional service is also confirmed in Tantra Shastra, where the Lord Shiva says to Sati, my dear Sati, if one is very fine philosopher analyzing the different process of knowledge, he can achieve liberation from the material entanglement. By performing the ritualistic sacrifice recommended in the Veda, one can elevate it to the platform of the past activity, therefore enjoy the material comfort of life to the kind of fullest extent. But all such endeavor can hardly offer anyone devotional service to the Lord, not even if one tries for it by such process for many and many thousand birth. In Srimad Bhagavatam, it is also confirmed by Prahlad Maharaja that merely by the personal effort or by the instruction of the higher authority, one cannot attain to the stage of devotional service. One must become blessed by the dust of the lotus feet of the pure devotee who is completely free kind of from the contamination of the material desire. In the fifth canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, 6th chapter, verse 18, Narada also say to Yudhishthir, my dear king, it is Lord Krishna, known as Mukunda, who is eternal protector of the Pandavas and the Yadus. He is also the spiritual master instructor in every respect. He is only the worshipable God for you. He is very dear and affectionate. He is the director of all your activity, both individual and familial. And what's more, he sometimes carries out your order as if he were your younger, as a your messenger. My dear king, how very fortunate you are, because for other all other kind of favor given to you by the Supreme Lord would not even be dreamt of. The purport of this verse is that the Lord easily offered liberation, but he rarely agreed to offer the soul devotional service, because by devotional service the Lord himself become purchased by the devotee. The happiness of becoming one with the Supreme. The Rupa Goswami says that the Brahmananda, or the happiness of being one with the Supreme, is a multiple 1 trillion fold. It still cannot compare to the atomic fraction of the happiness derived from the ocean of the devotional service. In the Hari Bhakti Sudhadaya, Prahlad Maharaja, while satisfying the Lord Nrsimhadeva by his prayer, says, my dear Lord, in the universe I am feeling transcendental pleasure in your presence, and have become merged in the ocean of happiness. Now I consider the happiness of the Brahmananda to be no more than the water of the impression left by the cow's hoof in the earth compared to the ocean of bliss. Similarly, it is confirmed by the Brihad Bhavartha Deepika, Sridhar Swami commentary on the Srimad Bhagavatam. My dear Lord, some of the fortunate person who are swimming in the ocean of your nectar of your devotion, who are relishing the nectar of the narration of your pastimes, certainly know the ecstasy that immediately minimize the value of the happiness derived from the religiousness, economic development, sense gratification, and the liberation. Such a transcendental devotee regards any kind of happiness other than the devotional service as no better than the straw in the street, attracting Krishna. Sri Rupa Goswami has stated that devotional service attract Krishna. Krishna attract everyone, but devotional service attract Krishna. The symbol of devotional service is the highest degree of Radharani. Krishna is called Madana Mohana, which means that he is so attractive that he can defeat the attraction of thousands of Cupid. But the Radharani is still more attractive, for she can even attract Krishna. Therefore, devotee call her Madan Mohana Mohini. the attractor of Cupid. To perform devotional service means to follow the footsteps of Radharani. Devotees in Vrindavana put themselves under the care of Radharani in order to achieve perfection in their devotional service. In other words, devotional service is not an activity of the material world. It is directly under the control of Radharani. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is confirmed that the Mahatmas of the great soul are under the protection of Devi Prakriti, the internal energy, Radharani. So, being directly under the control of the internal potency of Radharani, internal potency of Krishna, devotional service attract even Krishna himself. This fact is corroborated by Krishna in the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, 14th chapter, verse 20, where he says, "My dear Uddhava, you may know it from me that the attraction I feel for devotional service rendered by my devotee is not to be attained even by the performance, mystic yoga, philosophical speculation, materialistic sacrifice, the study of Vedanta, the practice of seven austerity, or the giving up everything in charity. There are of course very nice activity, but they are not as attractive to me as a transcendental loving service rendered by my devotee. How Krishna became attracted by the devotional service of his devotee is described in the Narada in Srimad Bhagavatam 7th canto 10th chapter verses 48-49. Here Narada addressing King Yudhishthira while the king is appreciating the glory of the character of the Prahlad Maharaj. The devotee always appreciate the activity of the other activity. Yudhishthira Maharaj was appreciating the quality of Prahlada, and that is one symptom of the pure devotee. The pure devotee never think himself great. He always think that other devotee are the greater than himself. The king was thinking Prahlad Maharaj is actually a devotee of the Lord, while I am nothing. And while thinking this, he was addressed by the Narad as follows: "My dear King Yudhishthira, you the Pandava are the only kind of fortunate people in the world. The Supreme Personality Godhead has appeared in the planet, is presenting himself to you as an ordinary human being. He is always with you in all circumstances. He is living with you and covering himself from the eyes of others. Others cannot understand that he is Supreme Lord, but he is still living with you as your cousin, as your friend, as your messenger. Therefore, you must know that the nobody in the world is more fortunate than you." The Bhagavad Gita, when Krishna appeared in the universal form, Arjuna prayed, "My dear Krishna, I thought of you as my cousin brother, so I have shown disrespect to you in so many ways, calling you Krishna or friend, but you are so great that I could not understand." So that was the position of the Pandava. Although Krishna is a supreme personality Godhead, the greatest among all the great, he remained, with this and with those royal brother being attracted by their devotion, by their friendship and their love. That is the proof of how great this process of devotional service is. It can attract even it can attract even the supreme personality Godhead. God is great, but devotional service is greater than God because it attracts him. People who are not in devotional service can never understand what great value there is rendering service to the Lord. So here we concluded reading of Bhaktivedanta purport from Nectar of Devotion, chapter 1. So I hope all you understood. It is very simply, very easy language Prabhupada has written. So let's go.
So today, we're going to dive into a really profound spiritual concept from the Vaishnava tradition. It's an idea that, honestly, challenges a lot of what we might think we know about faith, about what it means to be liberated, and even about the nature of God. Just let that sink in for a second. Most spiritual paths are all about attainment, right? You're trying to achieve peace, or get enlightened, or secure a spot in heaven. But this path, it starts from a place that's completely different, and you could say way more radical. And here it is, the heart of the matter. What exactly is pure devotional service? Well, it's service that comes purely from a place of love. Absolutely no strings attached. You're not doing it for money, not for secret knowledge, and, here's the real kicker, not even for the ultimate spiritual prize of being freed from the whole cycle of life and death. This is where it gets really wild. I mean, look at this list. According to this philosophy, a pure devotee would flat out turn down all of these incredible spiritual goals that other people spend their entire lives striving for. Things like living on the same planet as God, or even looking like Him. The point isn't to get something from God, or even become like God. The point is just to serve. Okay, so what does being in a state like this actually do for a person? I mean, what's the effect on you? Let's get into the first set of characteristics, which are all about that inner transformation.
The very first benefit is a big one. It's something pretty much everyone on the planet is looking for: an end to suffering. And the source text explains that this happens by basically short-circuiting the whole system of karma.
See, we're all kind of caught in this chain reaction. Think of it like a garden you didn't know you were planting. You've got these immature sins. They're like seeds of actions from the past, just sitting in the soil, waiting. Then you've got mature sins. Those are the seeds that have already sprouted into weeds, and they're causing all the problems you're dealing with right now. It's just this constant cycle.
And this quote just perfectly illustrates the solution. Lord Krishna says that devotional service is like a raging fire. And what does a fire do? It doesn't just burn one log at a time, it burns the whole pile of fuel you throw on it. It completely incinerates the seeds, the weeds, the whole karmic mess, past, present, and future. It just breaks the chain. So, moving on to the next characteristic, you'll see this isn't just about getting rid of the bad stuff. It's also about actively bringing in a whole lot of good. And the scope of this is just huge. We're not talking about some selfish, solitary practice here. The texts describe it as the ultimate form of welfare work, something that creates this positive ripple effect that touches literally every living thing. There are these amazing stories of Lord Chaitanya traveling through forests, and his devotion was so contagious that wild tigers and elephants would start chanting along with him. Now let's talk about how it feels. What's the actual experience? Well, pure devotional service is said to produce a kind of happiness that's in a category all by itself. This slide breaks it down so well. You've got material happiness. We all know how that goes. It's great while it lasts, but it's always temporary. Then interestingly, there's the happiness of merging with the divine, the Brahman. Even that is considered temporary, because there's a chance you could fall back out of it. But the happiness that comes from active, loving service, that's described as an eternal ocean of joy that just keeps expanding. So, if this is so blissful and powerful, you have to ask, why isn't everybody doing it? Well, the next few characteristics really get into the strange, paradoxical nature of this path. And here's the catch. This state, it's exceedingly rare, but not because it's hard in the way climbing a mountain is hard. It's rare because the way you get there is incredibly specific, and it's not what you'd expect. This is the absolute key. You can't achieve this state on your own. It's not something you can earn, no matter how much you study, meditate, or perform rituals. The philosophy is crystal clear. It can only be given to you as a gift of grace by someone who already has it. It's not an achievement, it's a transmission. Okay, you might want to brace yourself for this next one, because it is probably the most mind-bending characteristic of all. A person who reaches this state of pure devotion actually looks down on the very idea of liberation that everyone else is chasing. I mean, this quote from Prahlada Maharaja is just unbelievable. He compares the happiness of liberation, the ultimate goal for so many, to the tiny little puddle of water left in a cow's hoofprint. Why? Because when you're experiencing the happiness of devotional service, it feels like a vast, limitless ocean. The puddle just doesn't seem like a big deal anymore. And that brings us to the final, and I would argue, the most powerful and profound characteristic of pure devotional service. This is where the whole dynamic that we're used to, the seeker chasing the divine, gets completely flipped on its head. Suddenly, it's not just about the devotee being attracted to God, it's about God becoming powerfully, irresistibly attracted to the devotee. Now, to really feel the weight of this, you have to understand who Krishna is in this tradition. He's called Madana Mohana. That means he's the one who can enchant Madana, or Cupid. He is so unbelievably attractive that his beauty can defeat thousands of gods of love. He is, by definition, the most attractive being in existence. And here comes the punchline. Pure devotional service has a name too. It's called Madana Mohana Mohoni. And that means the one who attracts the attractor of Cupid. It is a force so beautiful and so powerful that it can attract the one who attracts everyone and everything else. It's almost as if love itself is even more powerful than God.
And if you have any doubt, Krishna says it himself. He says that nothing, not yoga, not philosophy, not even giving away everything you own in charity, nothing attracts him more than the love and service of his devotees. He says he actually becomes controlled or purchased by their love for him.
So, let's just quickly pull all this together. What have we seen? Pure devotion is totally selfless service. It wipes the slate clean of suffering and brings in a higher kind of joy. It values that loving connection so much that it makes even liberation look small. And ultimately, it's so powerful that it captures the attention of the Supreme Being himself. This is really the final paradigm-shifting idea here. The entire relationship is flipped. Of course, God is great, but in this view, the loving service of the devotee is seen as even greater because it's the one thing that can purchase the Lord's heart. And that really just leaves us with one last, huge question to think about. If a devotee's love has the power to attract the all-attractive, what does that tell us about the fundamental nature of love? Maybe it suggests that love isn't just an emotion. Maybe it's the most powerful force in the entire universe.